Key features of functions, day 2. So in this example, we are still talking about relationships between two different quantities, and that's our x and y values. So here we're given a graph. It is described by the function g of x is equal to 2 minus the absolute value of x. I just want to make a point that this g of x is just a fancy way of saying y. So we are really relating our x and our y values. So we put an input of an x value, we solve the right-hand side, and we have an output of a y value. So this question is asking, where is the graph increasing and where is the graph decreasing? So as a reminder, we always answer our questions in terms of x, so using our x values. So it's really just saying, where is the slope positive and where is the slope negative? Half of math is just trying to figure out, what is the question asking using all these fancy words? So the slope is positive on the left-hand side of the y-axis. So here's our y-axis. And as you can see, I have this blue arrow showing that the slope is positive. So if you were to take two different points on this left-hand side and do your slope formula of y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, you would get a positive number. So therefore, we're increasing on the left-hand side up until the y-axis. At the y-axis, we are not increasing anymore. So our x values are increasing from negative infinity up to 0. Now we are not including negative infinity because we never include negative infinity, and we are not including 0 because it's not increasing at that point anymore. Now let's answer where the graph is decreasing. So now when we go to the right-hand side of the y-axis, we can find our slope if we were to actually calculate the slope, and it would be negative. So if we take two different points and we use our slope formula, I'll write it out just in case you've forgotten, we would get a negative value. So our graph is actually decreasing from 0, not including 0, up into infinity. And again, not including infinity. So at what point does our graph go from increasing to decreasing? Well, in our case, it goes from increasing to decreasing, and therefore the point in between, which is this point right here, must be a maximum. If the graph does the opposite and it changes from decreasing to increasing, that would be at a minimum point. So if I was to draw an example, and I'm not going to use an absolute value, I'll do a parabola. If I was to draw an example, this point right here, we would call a minimum, because on the left-hand side, we would have a negative slope, and on the right-hand side, we would have a positive slope if we happen to take two values and actually find the slope. So how we communicate that is we say that this graph has a maximum, so we're talking about this graph now, value of 2, that's our y value, at x is equal to 0.